Good evening, and you're very welcome back to Around the Grounds here at Finalwhistle.ie. Another jam-packed night of football action across the country in both the Premier and First Divisions. And we will waste no time and start with one of our first games of the night, which is the game between Shelbourne and Dundalk at Tolka Park. Shelbourne, of course, managed by Damien Duff, looking to get a home win against Dundalk, who are chasing for a title. They have looked strong this season so far. Our reporter, Kieran Callan, was watching the game for us.
Well, Damien Duff is going to have to wait a little bit longer for that first win of his career here in Tolka Park, as his side came from behind to draw 1-1 here in what is a massive packed Tolka Park here. Just to let you know what happened, the first half was a very, very tepid affair. There wasn't much happening. There was only 2 chances really of note. J.R. Wilson for Shelbourne had the goal at his mercy as he latched onto a cross from Cameron Ledwith. However, with the goal at his mercy, Nathan Shepherd was nowhere to be seen. The ball skied over the bar. Sam Bone went closest for the away side as he hit one of his many strikes that he's been trying to do. Sam Bone seems to be going for a goal of the season award all by himself, but once again, it was well saved by Lewis Webb. The second half was a much different affair as the game really opened up, and with that, Dundalk hit the front. Patrick Hoban marked tonight's game with his 100 career goal for Dundalk FC as he latched on with a fantastic header to convert Keith Ward's in-swinging cross after Robbie Benson was fouled on the edge of the area. It looked as if Dundalk were going to settle for the 3 points, and Shelbourne did keep pressing, and then came the big moment in the game for the home side. Nathan Shepherd was deemed to have taken down Sean Boyd just on the edge of the area. The referee, Derek Tommy, wasn't really sure and went to Michelle O'Neill, his assistant, who put her flag up straight away to say that she had spotted something. While there was a little bit of confusion because he didn't exactly point to the spot, a penalty was awarded, and Sean Boyd did dispatch the penalty right under Nathan Shepherd, who had guessed the right way. A really great game here. The complete contrast from the first half to the second. As of yet, Damien Duff hasn't gotten his first home win, and once again, another draw, but undefeated for Stephen O'Donnell's Dundalk.
I don't think the music choice is actually great for the game to say moving on up. I don't think it has any implications on moving either Dundalk or Shelbourne up. Now, a lot can be said about, Damien Duff, Shelbourne. Of course, they did go 1-0 down, and you'd say, Dundalk might just scrape the 3 points here. They look fairly easy toward the end of the game. Have you been impressed with Shelbourne tonight?
If I'm going to be honest with you, there was patches in this game where they looked really good. You can start to see that what Damien Duff's philosophy in terms of how he wants to play is starting to come to fruition. Sean Boyd, you can see why he picked players like Sean Boyd. Sean Boyd is right on the defensive line. He's right in the face. He's a very aggressive full forward. That's the kind of player that Damien Duff would look. He lets his full backs really run with pace, and what they really seem to do is that they seem to really use the width of this pitch. Now, Tolka Park's a very tight ground by the best of things, but he lets them use that full width of the pitch that is here in Tolka, and Cameron Ledwith as well as J.R. Wilson, they just were given all the freedom of the park at times. Dundalk actually were quite compact at times, and they had to make changes in the back. I have to say that young Mark Hanratty looked really well for Dundalk this evening, but however, he was taken off at one stage because Stephen O'Donnell obviously recognised that he needed to get a little bit of more strength into midfield, but that was because Damien Duff was nullifying some of the threat. If there's one thing to be said about today, the evergreen Keith Ward looked extremely impressive during the course of this game this evening. He really had the freedom of the ground at times. However, himself and Robbie Benson looked to have linked up really well. But saying that, A. Dervin, who signed from Longford Town, you can see why he wanted him as well. Damien Duff wants a team of fighters. He wants a team of... Now, I'm not going to say that they're overly aggressive. What I'm saying is that they're not afraid to get stuck in. He wants that kind of... He understands that they're a side that have just been promoted. He understands that they're going to be struggling in a big league, and he knows that they're going to have to go toe-to-toe with these lads, and that's exactly what they did tonight. They were impressive.
Perfect, Kieran. Thank you for that report from Tolka Park. Now we'll move on from one title-chasing team in the Premier Division to a title-chasing team in the First Division in the former Cork City. They took on their rivals Cove Ramblers in what's been dubbed El Cork-Ico, similar to the El Clasico, but no one was caring about El Clasico tonight on Lee's side. It was all about the game at Turner's Cross, and watching that for us was our reporter, Sam Kerr.
Hi, Diarmuid. I'm not so sure now about El Corco, and it's not catching up for me personally, but it certainly had the feeling of a derby game. 2-0 it finished in the end. Cork City getting the early bragging rights in the first derby of the season. Very impressive performance, very dominant from Cork City, and they got the breakthrough on 14 minutes. Ali Gilchrist getting his first goal for the club in the league from a header on 14 minutes to give Cork 1-0 lead. And from there, he took complete control of the game, especially in the first half, really. And Cove struggled to create much of note, really, but they were better in the second half. Again, they created a couple of kind of half chances. Conor Drinnan on 59 minutes being probably the main one, really, where he's a left-footed shot fizzed across the goal, but went out for a corner. And that was as good as it got, really, for them on the night. Cork got the break, their second goal then on 62 minutes, this time from Tipperary man Cian Murphy. There was a goal out scrambled just in front of the shed end, and he finished from close range, about 2 yards out in the end. So a real poacher's goal for him. So overall, a good performance for City, a third clean sheet in 4 games, but one, I suppose, worry for them will be Captain Keane Coleman. He had to go off on 28 minutes. It looks like a muscle injury. We're not sure at the moment. But Kevin O'Connor, who was having a very good game out on the left flank, he had to go in then into centre half position because for that change. But hopefully Keane will be okay for that game on Monday night against Waterford in a crucial top of the table clash in the Munster Derby. Promises to be a great occasion and a great atmosphere here at Turner's Cross. Cove, they make the long trip up to Athlone, and they will be looking to make up for this evening's performance. Positive in the second half, but plenty to work on going into the game on Monday night.
Perfect, Sam. Thank you for that report from Turner's Cross. Whether it's El Corquico or El Classy Cork, as it was dubbed on social media, it's lived up to its expectations anyway for the hosts this evening. Our next game takes place at Head in the Game Park, where Drogheda took on Sligo. Drogheda were looking to build on their performance against UCD last week. Of course, a game that saw many free tickets and a big attendance there. Tonight they took on a Sligo Rovers team who were looking to try and get a result, and watching that for us was our reporter, Con Sheehan.
Yeah, Diarmuid, 3-0 to Sligo here at Head in the Game Park. A successful trip down to Louth for them. Despite the scoreline, it was quite a strange one because in terms of ball retention, it wasn't necessarily a case where Sligo were dominating the game and Drogheda looked completely out of sorts. It was more the first half being just too detrimental to the home side, by where they had great energy levels, but they saw lots of spells of meaningless possession. They were flat, they weren't incisive, and they were just basically overly passive with the ball. Whereas Sligo, on the other hand, were clinical and took their goals brilliantly. And then obviously, as it became 1-2, 3-0, it's obviously going to become more and more of a mental battle for Drogheda to stay in the contest. And we know that was that's been a problem as well, even under Tim Clancy.
Tom, things like we've lost Con there from Head in the Game Park, unless his internet's after going. We'll try and get him back on momentarily, but we'll move on just
ball
for
was
now.
flicked
He's
on
back
at the near post from a corner, and Banks was kind of just placed conveniently on the 6-yard box to not at home. They then added their second when star men of the night, to be honest, Max Mata and Jordan Hamilton linked up. Mata crossed low from the left wing, and Hamilton was there to convert. Those two were sensational in the first half. Mata's been brought in this winter from New Zealand, but he looked right at home, and there was a common trend where a long ball was played up to him and he would set Hamilton. Hamilton was just in that pocket of space, as kind of taking the role of a number 10. And from here, that's how Sligo kind of launched their attacks in that first half. So then it was 2-0. And Drogheda, you could see the heads dropping further and further from that point. The third goal for Sligo was one of the best goals you'll see all season in terms of the combination of great build-up play and a great finish. It was again that same situation. Mata set it down for Hamilton and he sprayed it beautifully out to the left, where Will Fitzgerald just took one look up and just buried the ball into the roof of the net from well outside the box. Nothing debutant Sam Long could do about that one. Drogheda were better in the second half then. They made actually 3 substitutions at half time. and positives were there for some of those substitutions. The likes of Dale Rooney and Darren Nugent came on and were very positive, and that's what, going back to my point about where it wasn't the case of Sligo dominating the game, but you'd have to say they managed the game very well in the second half, being 3-0 up and with Drogheda pushing on. But just into the second half, actually, Drogheda were awarded a penalty kick. The ball was crossed in from the left side, and the Sligo defender basically blocked the low cross with his arm. Poynton stepped up, who's been brilliant in his first few games of the season, stepped up and blasted the ball wide. Poor spot kick, and that kind of sent a signal through the stadium where, you never really felt like Drogheda were going to make amends on the scoreline from that point. And really from there, Drogheda again were good. The fresh blood off the bench really was quite telling. Like, it kind of had the effect that you'd want it to have. Again, the energy levels were brilliant, but they just couldn't find the net. There seems to be a bit of a problem when they get to the final third, and you can really see that they're missing out on Connor Kane and James Brown, who left last season, who just linked up with the rest of the attacking players very well in those full-back roles. But yeah, Dean Williams had a few chances then late on. One particular good one where he hit it from the edge of the box, but Richard Brush in goal for Sligo made a very good stop, tipping over his bar. But yeah, Sligo just managed the game, and you could see then, like with 10 minutes to go, it was fairly obvious the points were fairly safe with Liam Buckley's side. So 3-0 it finishes here ahead in the game park.
Perfect. Thank you, Con, for that report. And apologies where we lost signal there midway through Con's report. I suppose that is the joys of live reporting, but we will make sure that you'll be able to see all of Con's report as well up on our website once it goes up after the show. Next, we'll move on to another game in the first division at the Carlisle grounds, where Bray Wanderers took on Galway United. Bray Wanderers have been up against it so far this season in their opening couple of fixtures. They haven't got a result that they would have hoped for. They took on a Galway team who took home a win last week, and they were looking to build on that. They drew last week against Waterford, and they were looking to try and get a win this weekend. Watching that for us was our reporter, John Nee.
Hi, Demo. Thanks. It was a very slow start to the game. I was looking into this game, Galway and Bray, their last 4 games, there's only been a goal separating the sides, a few 0-0s, and to be honest, coming into halftime, it kind of felt like it was going to be one of those games, a 0-0, maybe someone nicking a 1-0 late on. Galway started the better. They had 2 corners inside the first 5 minutes, but nothing really came of them. Like, they were cleared out fairly handily by Bray. The defenses were on top for the majority of the first half. Nothing really getting in behind. No chances as such. Paul Fox got in behind the Galway defence on around 28 minutes. A ball just over the top bounced nicely for him, and he struck it after one touch, but he hit it into the side netting. Clifford was lucky for Bray just on the stroke of half-time, 42 minutes in. He played a bad back pass, and it was intercepted by Galway's McCarthy. And the keeper had come out with the box to collect it, and McCarthy went by him, and he kicked it into the back of his own man, Jordan Ediemu, for, like, it was a clear goal, and Bray were lucky to survive that. So they went in at half-time, 0-0. Quite a dull first half, but it was tense, like it was kind of one of those games where it's like these two sides don't want to lose to each other. A bit of a grudge match considering their previous encounters over the last 2 years as well. Second half, Bray came out the better of the two teams in the second half. Intensity was high. They got themselves 2 quick corners. A free kick just went past the post. But 53 minutes in, Galway counterattack. Jordan Ediemu got the ball in the box, and Clifford, again, he was involved on both ends of the pitch, came in, done a tackle. It looked a clean tackle from what I could see, and the ref pointed to the spot, gave Galway a penalty. Quite controversial, I would say. And Hurley stepped up and just powered it into the back of the net, and Galway went 1-0 up after 53 minutes. Galway made subs then. They took off Ediemu, and they took off Dimas, and Walsh came on again, and Walsh wasn't on the pitch for 5 minutes, and he got in behind. Michael Kelly came off the goal line for Bray to get an over the top ball. Didn't get there. Walsh got there first, open net, tapped it in. Galway were 2-0 up, and Walsh scoring for the second week in a row off the bench with practically his first touch in both games. In fairness to Bray, They went straight down the pitch from tips, got a free kick, lovely ball whipped in by Clifford, again, involved in most places, and Captain Douglas headed it in, brilliant header, rifled into the bottom corner with a header. The keeper had no chance. And after this, then it was practically all Bray. Like, they're pushing the Galway defence back. They made a few substitutions. They subbed off a defender late on, went for a forward. Livingston came on for Bray. He was quite impressive. And late on, Galway counter-attacked. Shane Doherty, again, Bray had pushed all their men forward, and Galway counter-attacked, made it 3-1 late on, finished off the game.
Perfect, John. Thank you for that report from all the action down at the Carlisle grounds. Big win for Galway, of course, puts them to second in the table on 7 points, providing that their title challengers Waterford couldn't get a result tonight. They were in action against Wexford in a southeast derby at the Regional Sports Centre down in Waterford. Two teams who are definitely chasing for the title. Wexford have been the outlier so far this year after picking up 2 wins in their opening games. They were looking for a result tonight, and watching that for us was our reporter Sean Crosby.
Helped Waterford's title chances massively. Finished Waterford 2, Wexford 1. Waterford got off to a perfect start nearly after just 7 minutes. They were awarded a penalty from a corner. To be honest, still not entirely sure whether it was for handball or some kind of pushing inside the box. Didn't seem like anyone went down, so I think it was a handball from a Wexford defender. And Junior Quintra stepped up and sent Paul Hunt the wrong way to open the scoring early on for Waterford. For the first 20 minutes, the Blues, it was really all them. Wexford looked completely rattled by that conceding early and really struggled to create much. It was only really after about half an hour that finally Wexford started to come into the game. Some nice triangle kind of movements, 1-2s from Ian Ryan's men, and eventually just after half hour, Mark Conor Crowley curling in a free kick right into the bottom corner to level it, and they looked completely rejuvenated from that and really began to push Waterford. But it was pretty even in the first half, fairly end to end. But just after the equaliser, and Wexford looked like they'd gotten back into it. It was only a matter of 5 minutes before they conceded again. Defensive issues a problem for Ian Ryan's men since he's taken over. It was a mishit from Jeremy Malombo that found Phoenix Patterson inside the box, and he slots the ball past Paul Hunt to put Waterford back in the lead. They went in ahead at halftime, then up 2-1. Wexford came out in the second half and looked determined to really try and create chances. Aaron Dobbs looked probably the best Wexford player out there, getting in behind, trying to make things happen. But unfortunately couldn't get on the score sheet for himself tonight. It was a bit stagnant then, second half, from about 50 minutes up until about 75, 80 minutes is when kind of the game started to come back to life. With Wexford providing pretty much most of the chances. Aaron Dobbs crossing the ball in to find Thomas Constantine, who was practically standing on the line, and Constantine's header hits the crossbar, and then a few minutes later, Dinny Corcoran scraped the post with a chip as well. It was a night where things just didn't really seem to happen for Wexford. Defensive issues have been a problem already this season, but bar 1 or 2 slip-ups in the first half, they generally looked quite solid. The biggest issues came up front. It seems like the new signings struggling to gel so far, and it might just be a matter of time before maybe Aaron Dobbs and Dinny Corcoran can kind of get their partnership going well, but it didn't happen tonight, and that's why I finished 2-1 to Waterford.
Perfect, Sean. Thank you for that report. Of course, the win sees Waterford up in the table to 10 points. They are unbeaten in their first 4 games in the league. Of course, they have dropped points to Galway away from home, but they still remain unbeaten, and they are looking the early favourites in that division. Now, speaking of the division, we had 4 games scheduled for tonight, but we only had 3, as Treaty United and Longford Town was postponed with just over 45 minutes until the kickoff this evening at Shannonside. Treaty United are still waiting to play their opening game of the season in Limerick, but our reporter Tom Clancy was there for us from the Markets Field, and he was able to provide an update as to why the game was postponed.
Yes, bad news here this evening on Channelside as Treaty United versus Longford Town has fallen victim to the poor weather in Limerick this afternoon. The pitch deemed unplayable by the match referee and the game has been postponed. It's the second postponement for Treaty United this season after their first home game of the season was also postponed. So no home games played here so far at the Marketsfield this season. They will have to wait a little bit longer to get their home campaign underway, and while Longford Town, they have to play just one game following the postponement in the early rounds as well.
And thanks for Tom for taking the time to go to the game. Unfortunately, he never got to see Treaty United in action, but he was there waiting for it. It's a bit disappointing for them for 45 minutes just before the game to see it postponed, but they'll have to wait. And Longford, of course, have only managed to play one game this season. They'll have to wait even longer, but we'll see what happens when it comes to it. Now, moving on back to the Premier Division, a mouth-watering tie at Tallaght Stadium this evening as Shamrock Rovers took on their bitter rivals in Bohemians. Watching that for us was our reporter Alana Canan. Of course, it was a very, very interesting game, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely, Diarmuid. It was action-packed, and the first defeat of the season inflicted there on Bohs by Shamrock Rovers. Diarmuid, as Rory Gaffney's goal was really the difference there. 24 minutes in it came, and things were just all action, as I said. Bohs were kind of really pushing the crossfield passes tonight. It wasn't quite coming off from them, though. And while Byrne, Burke and Watts were really good for Shamrock Rovers, it wasn't a vintage performance by them by any means. The game was really kind of nip and tuck the whole way through. I would say, like, Shamrock Rovers slightly dominating, but Bohs certainly not ever out of completely out of touching distance from them. It finished that way at the break and at the end, obviously, but Bohs came out all guns blazing after the restart, and Ryan Cassidy, Dawson Devoy and Flores had some chances, but as I said, it just didn't come off for them. And then from there, Rovers just took a stronghold on the game. There was plenty of yellow cards, as you would expect, and substitutions too, as I said, as they kind of rolled into management of the game in that regard. Mandrew, I thought in particular, was really good for Shamrock Rovers when he came on as a substitution. He was really lively and was really running at Bohs' defensive line. Man of the match they gave to Lee Grace on LOI TV, who really was a stronghold for Rovers there in defence. And that's how it concluded 1-0 to Shamrock Rovers, and a good win given, as I said, Dublin Derby tensions were high and Bohs' first defeat of the season.
Perfect, Lana. Thank you for that report. And of course, a big result for Shamrock Rovers tonight as it propels them to the top of the table. As Derry, as you see in the bottom of your screen, their game against UCD was postponed earlier today due to a waterlogged surface at the UCD Bowl. So big result for Shamrock Rovers to kind of give them a bit of momentum going in. Now, another team that are looking for momentum tonight were St. Pat's. They were up against Finn Harps. Finn Harps, of course, playing at home. Finn Park has always been a stronghold, but St. Pat's have looked lively. They beat Shamrock Rovers in recent weeks. They were looking for a result tonight, and watching that for us was our reporter, Matthew O'Donnell.
Yeah, so like you said, Finn Park is always a tricky place to go for any League of Ireland team. The first half saw a few chances for both sides. The game was kind of stop-start, to be honest. But the home side did have the better of the couple of half chances. One coming from David Webster, who had a half volley from a corner that cannoned off the post in the first half. Yo-Yo Maddy and Milojevic also went close for the home side with headers that went over the bar. But the second half started in a much more livelier tone with both sides up in the tempo. The home side had a goal and chance when Milojevic went through, but Anand came out, made himself big and pulled off a good save. Then the game changed in the 66th minute when Ian Birmingham picked up the ball on the left-hand side for the visitors. Did a 1-2 with O'Reilly, then did a second 1-2 with Owen Doyle to work his way into the Finn Harps box. His shot was saved onto the post, and there was the opposite fullback, Jack Scott, there to roll it into an empty net. Then Finn Harps pushed for an equaliser, but couldn't create anything that clear-cut, and they were punished again 10 minutes later when Chris Forrester delivered an inch-perfect free kick that was met by Owen Doyle, and he headed the ball into the far corner. Then the game was kind of stop-start. Then both sides looking to make changes. Pats tried to shore up things at the back by bringing on James Abankwa. As for the home side, again, I kind of had a lot of the ball for the last kind of 10 or so minutes, but struggled to create anything clear-cut. And then the game finished up then 2-0 for the away side. And for St. Pat's, they move on to UCD on Monday night. But for the home side, it's still a search for their first win as they travel down to Sligo Rovers on Monday night for another big game.
Of course, the win for St. Pat's, enough to take them up to second place in the table. They're joint level on 9 points now with Shamrock Rovers, and of course Finn Harps down toward the summit of the table along with UCD. Now, of course, UCD didn't play tonight. They will be in action on Monday, but looking a bit herb scarum down there toward the bottom of the table for Ollie Horgan's men at the moment. Now, at the bottom of your screen, you will see, of course, the results that were on tonight as well, just in case you're viewing it late and you want to get the results. Starting with the Premier Division games first this evening, we had Drogheda United. Of course, they lost 3-0 home to Sligo. Shelburne were in action against Dundalk. Kieran, of course, was on with us earlier, and of course, Damien Duff still looking for his first home win of the season. But at 1-1 draw, it finished there this evening. The UCD game against Derry, like I said, was postponed due to a waterlogged playing surface at the UCD Bowl. St. Pat's were 2-0 winners over Finn Harps. Shamrock Rovers gained the bragging rights as well as going back to the top of the table with a 1-0 win against Bohemians. And in the first division, Bray Wanderers suffered a 3-1 loss to Galway United, who were chasing promotion back to the Premier Division. And also in action, we had Waterford, who took on who were in action against Cork City. That was a 2-0 win down at Turner's Cross for Cork. Big result for them after their draw with Longford last Saturday. Treaty United and Longford, another game that got postponed due to an unplayable surface down in Shannonside. And finishing off, we had Waterford, who beat Wexford 2-1. Waterford, of course, top of the table on 10 points, are looking strong, definitely looking likely for promotion, if not a title this year down in Waterford. Now we'll move on to our fixtures, and on Monday in the Premier Division, all games kicking off at 7:45 unless stated. Bohemians against Shelburne, Derry City take on Drogheda United, Dundalk meet Shamrock Rovers, another big test for Shamrock Rovers, a mouth-watering game there at Oriel Park. Sligo Rovers meet Finn Harps, and St. Pat's take on UCD, all games there in the Premier Division. We'll move on to the First Division, where Athlone Town take on Cove, Cork City take on Waterford, Galway take on Treaty United, and Longford Town take on Bray Wanderers. Now, we also have games from the Women's National League tomorrow. Sligo Rovers take on DLR Waves at 2 p.m. Treaty United meet Cork City at 5. Bohemians against Athlone take place at 6 o'clock. And Galway United take on Peamount also at 6, while Wexford Youths take on Shelburne at 6 as well. Now, that wraps up all of our games for this evening. And of course, I mentioned there we had Monday fixtures as well. We will be back on Monday evening for another episode of Around the Grounds. And all our reports from tonight, tomorrow, and Monday will all be available on the website, Finalwhistle.ie. Make sure to stay tuned for Monday. But until then, have a lovely evening and goodbye.